Alaska as a stage, Russian TV, and the historic summit of Putin and Trump. 10 hours before the start of the talks in Anchorage, the Russian talk show 60 Minutes devoted the entire broadcast to preparations for the meeting, calling it historic and a meeting for the whole world. The presentation was based on three key elements: emotionally building up expectations, emphasizing the uniqueness of the event, and devaluing the role of Europe and Ukraine. The effect of a show around diplomacy reports on the details of the arrival of delegations, hotels, weather, and even Lavrov's clothes, a sweater with the inscription USSR, created an atmosphere of involvement in the event. Much attention was paid to logistics, from the military base to the makeshift camp of journalists. This is a typical technique of internal propaganda. The viewer sees the process as an already completed and significant action, regardless of the outcome, shifting focus from war to geopolitics. Although the formal goal of the summit was stated to be achieving peace in Ukraine, the discussion turned to resources, the Arctic, missiles, and economic deals. In the narrative, war as aggression does not exist. It is a crisis that can be resolved by exchanging interests with the United States. Marginalization of Ukraine. An important technique is shifting the focus to the bilateral Putin-Trump format, in which Kyiv appears only as a conditional participant in the second meeting, and then at Washington's request. This is important for the European viewer. This is how Moscow legitimizes negotiations on the future of Ukraine without Ukraine. Demonstration of Western fear. A large block of the broadcast was devoted to a review of Western media that allegedly recognized Putin's victory, panic, and fear deception in Alaska. It was especially emphasized that the warmongers in Europe cannot influence US policy. The interspersed quotes from the New York Times, The Times, The Economist, and other publications were presented as proof that the West was demoralized. It looks as if the location was chosen specifically to highlight Putin's special status. In essence, Trump is giving Putin the perfect opportunity for a dramatic photo opportunity. The question is how their meeting might go. And it's worth recalling the striking moment in 2018 when, after talks between the two world leaders in Helsinki, Finland, Trump openly backed Putin's position over that of US intelligence agencies. The Helsinki summit, of course, was such a failure for Trump that his top Russia advisor at the time, Fiona Hill, later said, quote, "My first thought was, how am I going to stop this? I actually had the idea that I would stage some kind of medical emergency and let out a blood-curdling scream and fall into the press. CNN maps out the future division of Ukraine. Swapping territory would be political suicide for Zelensky. When President Trump talks about swapping land, he's talking about areas under Russian control. These three areas, marked with a black line, have always been among the most ambitious goals of Russian President Vladimir Putin. This is what he is trying to achieve. We have tried to mark the boundaries as accurately as possible, but the price of each line is colossal." Propaganda message 1. Putin breaks international isolation with one gesture. 2. Europe is secondary and powerless to influence American decisions. 3. The conflict is a subject of a deal, not a matter of international law. 4. Any criticism of Russia from the West is presented as hysteria and fear. This media narrative creates the impression in the Russian audience that the summit is already a diplomatic victory, and its real result is secondary. For the European reader, this is an illustration of how Russian TV turns a complex multilateral conflict into a simplified two-act play with a predicted triumph.